Okay, what are we going to do in the initial couple of sessions is to explain like what we are going to learn and what are the things that we are going to learn and why we are going to learn only those such kind of a topics. Okay, so to start with, right, so I got like multiple queries yesterday saying that, so what is an order of the execution of the program, right? So even though I have shared some of those PDF documents of course content, and some people have some queries of how the materials would be provided, what is an engagement model. General people, the moment they think about the online, right, so they always get scared about like how would be engaged, how would be the validation or evaluation will happen, right? And also what kind of a post-code support. Again, we don't want to make any false promises saying that we have a tie-up with all the MNCs where you will be getting placed. So at the same time, we are going to provide you something where no one else tries to provide you, right? So that is a post-code support, which is very, very important if someone wants to get a job in data science, right? That's what we are going to focus on, post-code support, and also the expectations, right? So together as a team, we would be able to achieve your dream of becoming a data scientist, right? How best, how good I teach, how committed I am to this program, right? I have some basic expectation from everyone, right? We are going to discuss about them in today's session. And towards the end, I wanted to explain you what is the machine learning life cycle, right? So since we are learning statistics, we are learning machine learning, we are learning deep learning, right? Some people will talk about EDA, some people will talk about feature selection, feature engineering. So I wanted to club all of them together so that you understand that we are not skipping anything, and you understand like what is the process or what is the structured way of learning something, and how these many interdisciplinary skills are connected to each other. Why I need to learn statistics, how it is going to help me in machine learning, why deep learning comes into the picture. So these are some of those basic details that you need to be very clear upon. Once you start the program, it should be like we are clear what we are learning, why we are learning, and why this particular order is being built to learn the techniques. So that is a basic expectations that I wanted to set to everyone. So when we start the journey, let's try to enjoy the subject without having any deviations about why are we learning, what are we learning, and how we are learning. Okay, so I just wanted to quickly update you in today's introductory session saying that what are we going to learn, right? So before I thought of starting with statistics, it would be a little heavy at the moment you start on the day one about your statistics. So the reason that today and tomorrow's or would be more introductory sessions to bring up to the speed about what is statistics, what are the branches in it, what is machine learning, what is deep learning, what is NLP, why do I need to learn TensorFlow, etc. And once those two introductory sessions are completed from Wednesday morning, you will be learning the fundamentals of R. Again, the reason we are starting with a programming language, not because programming is more important than the subject, it is just to warm ourselves up before we learn something very good. Because as I said, the moment we start learning theory, we need to practically implement it, right? So as an example, today, if I'm teaching artificial neural networks, right? Tomorrow in the immediate next class, we are going to do a practical implementation, right? So the reason I don't want to break the chain of theory with practical implementation. So the reason we are going to warm ourselves up to the fundamentals of a programming language called R. Again, people might have a question like, why don't we start with Python? So the simple reason is people are coming from different backgrounds, right? Programming and non-programming, even with programming, some are from what you call object-oriented functional programming, or maybe structured programming. So because of looking at all those profiles of the students, I thought it would be always best for someone to get easily gelled up with respect to our programming language. So again, when I'm trying to teach the Python, I'm going to provide the differences between how these things works in R and how these things works in Python, so that you will be in a much more mature position when you're trying to learn. You will try to enjoy the subject rather than worrying about how things are being done in a particular programming language. So for the initial 2 to 3 weeks, we are going to go a little very slow pace, right? Just because it's not about dumping the data or dumping the knowledge on the students. It is always about understanding whether they're able to observe the content. So this initial 2 weeks will help me in understanding the pace of learning from you, because there will be a couple of tests that you're going to conduct in every week. So that will help me in positioning about how you are trying to learn and what is an observation pace of each one of the student. So that's how I try to track each every student's success and what is his learnings and what was his proactiveness and interactiveness. So this is how the initial 2 weeks would be little slow, but as we pick the pace, we are going to shift our gates from 1, 2, 3 all the way to 5. and that's how we are going to build a very good exclusive and exhaustive learning path for becoming a data scientist. So the reason we are going to start with fundamentals of R for the initial couple of weeks, and once that is done, we are going to learn the business statistics of it. Okay, so again, statistics has two branches of it. So one is called as descriptive, and the second one is called as an inferential statistics. Okay, so these are the two branches of statistics that we will be covering. Descriptive statistics exclusively each and every possible technique with real-time implementation would be, and inferential statistics, as I said, we are going to learn all those important things that are still relevant, that are acting as a foundational blocks for you to get a good hold on the machine learning topics. That's what we are going to paint the way for business statistics, which would go again around 2.5 to 3 weeks. Then we are going to learn the artificial intelligence, right? This has been divided into 4 modules. The first module is supervised machine learning. Okay, and as part of this, there are 2 branches in supervised. The first one is called as classification. The second one is called as a regression. And as part of this, what are we going to learn? So we are going to learn 15 algorithms. Okay, we are going to learn 15 algorithms with nearly 10 plus real-time use cases. Okay, so how did I made a claim saying that these are all real-world use cases? So let me tell you a little background about UCI machine learning repository. So there was a particular intern who was doing his PhD thesis, right, way back in 1990s and somewhere. So he found the challenge of identifying the data to do some data analysis. So at that point of time, he created a portal called as UCI machine learning repository. It means any organization who wants to socialize their data, removing all the sensitive information, all the customer confidence information, all PII sensitive information has been removed, and they have open sourced their production data. Okay, so the reason all those data sets are available in a particular portal called as UCI machine learning repository. Okay, so this is where we are going to download all our data sets, okay, to perform the real-time cases. Okay, and we are going to include from different domains because I'm from financial and banking sector, so it does not mean that all the use cases has to be a particular domain. So this is how we are going to uh, include the data sets from insurance, from finance, some of the few generic use cases which can be applied across any domain, right? And few of them from pharma, right? Few of from life sciences, right? So this is how we are trying to ensure the diversity in the project execution also. Okay, so this is how the first module would be completed, and once this is done, we are going to talk about the module 2, okay, which is called as unsupervised machine learning. Okay, and as part of this, right, what we are going to do, we're going to learn 4 algorithms, right? So when we, the moment we talk about unsupervised machine learning, so the kind of analysis that you can do more pretty restricted. So the reason we are going to do 4 machine learning algorithms as part of this, and we're going to do anywhere between 3 to 4 real-time use cases. Okay, so again, it is from the same UCI machine learning repository that we're going to take the case from. And since I'm working with some of those other startups, I will try to see if they're okay enough to open source their data. Okay, because again, that is a subjective matter, because being in a data science, right, we need to always follow the ethics, because our organizations, our clients believe in us and they expose their entire production data set. So the reason in most of the other things, right, always following the ethical rules, because you'll be able to see some of those very sensitive data about some of the clients, customers. So the reason following the ethics is very good and very important. So the reason I'll try to see if I can include 1 or 2 the most real-time use cases which no one will be able to get access to, right? So I might not be able to share, but at least I will try to pull such kind of a data sets also to show this information to you. Okay. And once this is done, we are going to talk about the artificial intelligence, the module 3. And as part of this, right, no longer we will get a chance to work only on the structured data, right? That's where the challenge is. So whenever you are working on PDF documents, the Word documents, the emails, the social media content, definitely you need to have a different science before you apply machine learning or deep learning, right? So to convert this free form text into some vectors or into some numerical factors, right? It needs some specific processing, right? So the reason we are going to learn a different science, which is called as a natural language processing. So we are going to understand what are the fundamental challenges of it and how are we going to solve them. So we're going to learn a lot of fundamentals, a lot of different techniques as part of your natural language processing. How do you convert a text information into some vectors? Okay, so this is how we are going to learn. And after this, right, we are going to do 3 projects as part of here. Okay, what are those 3 projects? The customer feedback analysis, right, which can probably become a project as part of your profiles, and a information retrieval system, a kind of a search engine that we are going to build, and a generic text classification. So this is how the 3 projects will definitely help you and add some value to your profiles. Because whenever you're trying to put some projects on your profile, maintaining a good diversity would always catch the attention of the hiring manager or the HR personnel. So the reason we are going to help you in saying, like, depending upon number of years that you would like to fake on your profiles, we are going to have a discussion saying that what is the best use case that you can have as part of your profiles, so that we are not overselling. At the same time, we are going to catch the pulse of what is an expectation from the industry, right? So this is the third module of AI, and we are going to learn the fourth module, which is all about deep learning, right? So even though it's a very fancy thing, but in real time, let me be very frank, right? People are not that easy to onboard the deep learning solutions as part of their production systems. Because the moment we work on the business use cases, business people generally have a notion saying that deep learning are a black box models. It means you give input, you get an output, but the way it is getting converted from input to output is very hard to explain. So it means the explainability, the interpretability would be very less. People generally don't prefer until unless it is a very hard to solve complex problem statements. So even on 100 million records, your basic Python and your machine learning solutions will give us very good results. But we are going to learn all those fundamentals, why machine learning does not work, right? Where does deep learning will overtake the machine learning, and what are the basic building blocks of deep learning, which are nothing but your artificial neural networks. We are going to talk about those algorithms in greater detail. Then we are going to talk about a couple of good architectures in your deep learning, which are called as a recurrent neural network and convolutional neural networks. So these are the very two foundational architectures that are available in deep learning. Okay, so this is how we are going to learn and structure our program starting with this. Okay, and once this is done, all the subject parts are done. The basic mathematics and statistics would be covered here. The machine learning, deep learning, NLP has been covered. And where do we introduce the rest of the stuff? As I said, once we have matured ourselves in our language by this case, right? By this module, you will be very comfortable working with R. You will be able to master the R when it comes to problem solving. Okay. As soon as this is done, we slowly start introducing the Python. Okay. Either that might happen during the weekends, or if the pace of the program is very slow, then we are going to make use of your weekends to start Python in parallel. Or if the pace of the program, if the students' absorption rate is good, we are following and able to complete all the modules as per the stipulated amount of time, then we are going to use the Python. Once unsupervised machine learning is done, before I introduce NLP, I'm going to introduce to the Python. And we can start with NLP and deep learning thereafter. And once you're completing the deep learning, right, that's where you're going to learn the TensorFlow. Okay, because if you wanted to implement a deep learning, you need to have a deep learning framework or a library. So there are n number of libraries that are available. TensorFlow, right, which is a Google's product, which has been open sourced in the year of 2015. We are going to make use of it. That is the most widely used deep learning framework. And PyTorch is another one which has been open sourced by Facebook. And Keras, again, Keras works in collaboration or on top of TensorFlow. So there are a number of deep learning frameworks, right? So, but it is not possible to learn each and everything. So the reason we are sticking to the best in the industry, which is TensorFlow. Any questions here, friends? So this is the structure of the concept that you are going to learn in the 100 days plus of the program. Any questions here?
Hi, Danish.
No,
I'm
sir.
Charlie.
Yeah, go ahead,
Yeah,
Charlie.
so big data and all these things comes under NLP.
No. So see, when we say big data, right? So as an example, say if the amount of the information is very vast, right? You need a
Yeah,
parallelization. Agree?
yeah.
Right? So when the parallelization is required, there are two ways of doing the parallelization. Either increasing the number of nodes, or else you can always do the parallelization in the form of GPUs too. So when I'm trying to teach the TensorFlow, we are going to make use of a open source platform called as Google Colab. It means they are
Okay,
giving nearly 16 GB of RAM for free and nearly 8 GB of your GPU power free. And I'm going to tell you how can you use a kind of a cloud-based collaborative lab for you to perform the TensorFlow and deep learning. Okay, so big data engineering is not part of a data scientist role.
okay.
Got that point?
So for processing a different kind of data, under which thing it comes, uh, like a document or image recognition, all those things comes under which part?
So a document can be processed or even a image can be processed on a CPU systems. But what would
Okay,
happen? Slow, right? The computation power would not be able to make those calculations very quickly. So the reason we need a parallelization system called as GPUs, graphical processing units, right? Generally, people think that GPUs are only used for gaming, right? Someone, if you
yeah.
are gaming fan, you will understand that, right? So people will go for NVIDIA, people will go for AMD GPU chipsets. But also the same concepts would be applied for deep learning. So that's the reason we're going to use a virtual lab called as Google Colab. Right? So when we
Okay,
are trying to teach you the deep learning and TensorFlow, I'm going to expose you to the virtual lab, which is a free of cost for us. It will not cost you anything by doing this. I'm going to explain how can we leverage the open source Google Colab for us to get some free GPUs. Okay.
yeah. Okay, Danish.
Any questions here, friends?
Ganesh, this is Pranati.
Hey,
Quick
Pranati,
question.
go
Hey,
ahead.
this UCI, I'm fairly new to this, so I just want to understand better. So when you say UCI, where we can have the real-time use cases, where we can leverage those use cases, right? Is it available even for our practice at a later point of time
Yes,
also?
exactly. So that's what Pranti. So why am I trying to name the domain is because you will be very clear about where the data sets are being. So because I should not cook up the data saying it is a real-time use case. So you yourself can find out which organization has given this data set in which year, how many total number of records are there, what is the definition of that each one of those column present in the data frame, and what are some of those values, and you'll get a little more domain description about what use case that you are working on. Okay, so and it means after the completion of 20 use cases, if you wanted to extend your knowledge base, right, you can definitely go over it.
Got it. Thank you.
Are you clear?
Yep.
Any other questions, friends?
Quick question. So after learning all this, which certification do you think is best suitable?
Tanbinu, right? So I always say that in a very diplomatic manner. So the reason I'm saying, like, see, you're going to get a certification from us, right? And if you need a certification from my startup, I can also provide that. And
Mm-hmm.
since you are faking up our last 1 to 2 years of experience, I'll try to tell you what are the other open source certifications that you can include without worrying about the verification part of it. See, because
Okay.
I always depend upon the knowledge, right? So once you have the
Right.
knowledge, once you are able to convince a hiring manager that you are the apt person, adding the list of more certifications is pretty easy. And I'm going to help you as part of the tips and tricks towards the end of the module, right?
Okay. Okay.
Are you clear?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Friends, any other questions?
No, Danish, please continue.
However, rest, because friends, the reason I'm going to spend a lot of time in introduction session is you should be very clear about what are we learning and how we are learning. Okay, I take it as a no. Then say as an example, you have missed a session, right? Or you need a practice or you need a revision of what is being learned. So there is a way going to provide all those required materials in a Google Drive link where you'll be getting an access to without a download permission. Again, we expect at most professional behavior from the students, not to download them, not to share them, right? So a person who cannot invest in himself will not be able to leverage whatever you provide at a free of cost. So the reason, and again, you might have observed, I'm using a OneNote. Why? Because I'm not a great fan of PPTs where I try to walk through the PPTs. I always prefer a whiteboard sessioning with my students. So it means we are going to come up with a 250 pages notebook after completion of this module. And this course, what you call the content would not be provided at what you call all at once, right? So we are going to teach a topic, and by end of the day, you are going to get a 1 or 2 or 3 pages notes as part of this. And slowly we are going to append this to the PDF document so that you will be getting a very good handout by end of the module. So I always prefer a whiteboarding sessions. I don't play PPTs. Even if I play, it would be very kept to the minimum. Right, so a little old school of way of trying to teach, but I see that will give me a chance while I'm trying to write. I will be able to converse with you and will be able to gel together when I'm trying to prepare the content. Okay, so the reason the OneNote or the whiteboard session that you're seeing would be converted into a PDF document, and that would be provided by end of the day. If at all, if I try to walk through any of the PPTs or any Word docs, okay, or else any of the PDFs, right? So whatever I refer in the session would be provided by the end of the day, including the videos, okay? And it could be R code, or it could be Python code, or it could be TensorFlow. The moment I refer something in the session, you would have this particular information by end of this day, okay? Always expect by end of the day, because GTM is a different format. Sometimes it takes 3 to 4 hours to convert the video. So then by 2 p.m. it would be available, but on a safer side, right? Sometimes if I get busy or something happens, maybe it would be uploaded by end of the day without fail. Okay, so these are all the materials that you're going to get. You are not going to get any textbook prior or any reference or a notebook for reference per prior. You will be getting a PDF document with all the materials that you're going to get in a Google Drive link. So the videos would be
Yeah,
recorded and will be provided to you.
yeah. Thank you.
Are you clear, friends?
Yeah, Dhanush. Yeah, clear.
Okay. Now
Good, good,
engagement
got it.
model, which is very, very important, right? How are we different from other things or the engagement model? Because we wanted to track your progress. We wanted to track your success. So the reason we are going to have some random quizzes, right? Again, we'll be taking some surprise tests. There will not be any particular date say that, hey, tomorrow would be a test, please prepare well. No, it would be a random quiz, right? Where we are going to pose some questions and try to see how they are trying to answer. Right? Answering correctly is just one part of it. Providing the justification is more important when you're trying to work in any analytics industry, because it is all about case studies, right? So recently we had an interview with one of the person who attended from Microsoft. We know that he's not a real-time candidate, but still we shortlisted and we were able to go with the interview procedures. He was able to answer just 50% of the questions. Believe me, friend, just 50% of the questions, but he was still hired. Why? Because his approach was pretty good, right? He was following the true north direction, except he fumbled on the last step. That should be okay, because no one is going to expect you to perform 100% well in any of those analytical technical panel discussions. It is all about your thought process, your approach, your design, and whether you are trying to consider all the required factors. Are you asking the right questions to get a better understanding about the problem statements? That's what we look for. So there's these kind of an random quizzes and assignments. Well, we'll try to help you in saying, am I learning the right way? Was I able to reconnect the dots, right? Because we're going to spend 100 days of learning. A topic which I taught at 22nd day might be the critical concept when I'm trying to teach a day or a concept at 95th day. So this is how there is a lot of pause in between, but you should be in a position to reconnect the dots when it matters, right? So these random quizzes assignments will try to formally give a chance to revise, to practice them. Okay, for those all self-reliant people, this does not matter, but those people, because in general I believe that it's been a little while that we have become a student, so the reason these kind of quizzes and exams will definitely help us to take some dedicated time to prepare well and try to perform well. Okay, any questions here on the materials and the engagement model?
No, Ganesh.
No, Dhanush.
Very good. Post-course support, this is very important. Sharing the knowledge and leaving it's not the right way, right? Ensuring that you have all the required tech stack, ensuring that you have all the required what you call a weaponry before you hunt for a job is very important. So the reason, after the concepts are being touched, right, we'll have some last 2 to 3 sessions dedicated in saying how can you build your profile. Being in the industry for the last 6.5 years, looking at the different profiles and resumes, right, I will try to provide you the tips and tricks. How do you present yourself? How can you stand out among the others? What is the differentiating factor that you can add to your profiles? That is very important. So being in this particular industry, right, so I get a chance like, what do I look when I try to shortlist a resume? So whatever the knowledge that I have gained and whatever the trend that I'm going to see around the industry, I'm going to provide as a tips and tricks. How should you present yourself, right? It is not the what you call a old school of trying to sell yourself, right? So people come up with 5-pager, 10-pager. I'm not saying that that is a bad way of doing it, but generally I prefer any profile should not exceed more than 2 to 3 pages, right? People say about 1 pager, but that is a little difficult. But you have to come up with a profile not more than 2 to 3 pages, right? People just try to write a roles and responsibility itself will last for 1.5 page or half page. That is not the right way of trying to project, because being a data scientist, we are a storyteller too, right? We need to tell the stories out of the data. When you cannot tell a story about your profile itself, how are you going to tell a story about something you have never experienced before? That is the data and domain, right? So the reason I'm going to help you on all those tips and tricks to build your profile, and how do you maintain your LinkedIn profile, how do you, right, maintain a GitHub profile, and I'm going to explain the journey too, so that all those little things will definitely add up and add as a differentiative factor for my students. And once the interview profile is been built, we are going to schedule a mock-up interview for 30 minutes. As you say, sir, my preparation is done, my profile is in very tidy shape, and I wanted to go for a job hunt. Before you do that, right, I just wanted to have a 30-minute mock-up interview. It would happen in the very similar way how it happens in the external interviews, right? They will not be by saying that you are my student, so that I'm going to ask simple questions, right? I will treat you, you are an external candidate to me, have imparted all the knowledge, I helped you on how do you project your projects, etc. Now it is a time to test whether you are able to live to the expectation that I have been looking for, right? So that's how we are going to analyze what are your strengths, what are the weaknesses, and we're going to give you all those required details. Okay.
Ganesh.
Are you clear, friends?
Yeah, Ganesh.
Yeah, Dhanush. Yeah, Dhanush.
Yeah, good. Okay, very good. Now, once that is done, so what is the next step? The next step is all about the reference, right? As I said, people generally say that our students are getting placed everywhere, right? But right, at least our students are like within 45 days, right? At least 1 or 2 students are getting placed. So over the period of 2 years, we have like a handsome number of people who are working for reputed organizations. So the reason, as soon as we get some information from our students, we are going to give you the reference. Okay, so our students will be the first batch of people who will get to know where the openings are and what are the respective positions, because few times the data science positions would be from 4 to 8, few times it would be for data science leader, few times it would be for data science architects. Generally the data architects, now there people are creating architect for analytics, so people are having huge amount of experience and expertise in building some scalable solutions, but they want to step into the data science where they don't want to start their journey from the scratch. So that's the reason where you need your data science skills to build some architecture designs of the products. You can try for them too. Based upon the referral drives, we'll definitely go to share this, and over and above, right, a POC. So this is where again a differentiating factor that I'm going to add to this. What I'm going to say here is POC. After 50 days of the journey into the program, I'm going to talk to each one of you looking at your domain, looking at your current line of business, is there any opportunity that you can start thinking about an idea and able to complete a POC by end of the program? So that is an objective. So how good I try to expose you to different problem statements, it is you, once you do a project by yourself independently, the moment you go for a job hunt, your confidence level would be on a sky high. Agree, friends?
Yeah, correct. Agreed. What you're
Right?
telling is right.
So the reason,
Agreed.
yeah, so the reason we are going to emphasize lot on doing a POC by yourself. Okay, but again, few domains, say as an example, you are in a very particular technology role, people would not be open to give you or expose you to the production data. So there would be some terms and conditions here. It all depends upon your organization, your current department, your current role, and etc. But I would always encourage people to find an idea, and I'm going to help you to groom or what is the right use case, right? Because if you try to work on a production data set working with business, it might take a little time. My objective is to expose you to the challenges when you try to work on a POC by yourself, right? That is an objective that I wanted you to expose to rather than the technical solution. Okay, how hard is to convince someone to give their production data? How do you identify the right factors? So those are the things that I wanted to emphasize more, which cannot impart that particular knowledge until unless you experience it. So the reason, depending upon if your organization has such kind of a little liberalness to encourage the innovation, to encourage people to step out of their comfort zone to do something, and I'm going to help you to conduct that particular POC. Are you clear on this? So there is I've had a little star mark because I would say that, but if your current role does not provide you or your current organization does not support you, I cannot do much things on that. Okay. And after this, right, we are going to conduct some ad hoc sessions too. Why ad hoc sessions are required? Because I said it is not about selling for 3.5 months and try to leave over there. We want this team to be successful. So the reason, even after the completion of the program, I cannot say that I will be connecting every week, but I will ensure that at least once in a month, I'm going to talk about a new topic, maybe from reinforcement learning, maybe some of the other algorithms that has been hit the industry, maybe AWS SageMaker has launched a new product called as Auto ML, right? Because I try to get a trend of what's happening in the industry, or maybe suppose we wanted to do a face recognition together as a team. We'll try to take some interesting topic for those ad hoc sessions, and we are going to stay connected even after completion of the program. Okay, are you clear?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Done.
So this is how we are going to help you to stay connected and also to help you are job ready after completion of this program. Any questions here, friends? Let me pause for a minute. Is it
No,
looking
no
good?
questions. Yeah, it's looking good, Dhanush. Yeah. No
Okay.
questions.
Now coming to the expectations, together we can clap. Together when we clap, the sound would be more good, right? These are all the things that I'm going to provide you. But at the same time, I had some expectations from you too. The first and foremost problem that I see, the daily attendance. The moment you're not attending it daily, because the recordings would be provided, right? You will have n number of excuses. Sir, I had an P1 yesterday where I have to work till 1 a.m. Eastern time or 1 a.m. IST. It's okay. I'm not bothered about it, right? We'll have some personal emergencies, right? Try to keep it to the minimum. I'm not saying that you will not have any issue, but don't find excuses to skip the sessions, right? Else it would be like another Udacity program, isn't it? Right? Going through the recordings and trying to keep up to the pace is not the ideal way of learning the data science, right? So the way that the moment you sit in the class, you'll have a different mindset. You'll not have any distractions. And because I engage most of the times, right? The moment I see someone keeping very calm, I try to pick the name and try to say like what I just repeated. So the reason attending the class will ensure you that your absorption rate would be around 70 to 80% on an average. If I teach for 100%, then if you are paying attention to the class, 70 to 80% of the concept automatically will get absorbed. Okay, that is the power of your whiteboard sessions. So definitely, I prefer the daily attendance, providing the recordings for your revision, but not to skip the main sessions, right? A little motivation and little soft but commitment, right? So you should not come back and 100, sir, I'm not job ready. Why you're not job ready? Because you never performed all during the 100 days, right? So the reason I need the same focus. It is not about providing the excellent focus for 3 to 4 weeks, and as soon we go to the second month and third month, your lose should not interest, right? You should not lose interest in it. So the reason consistency is another very important thing. On first 2 weeks you revise for 10 to 15 hours, and after 2 months you start revising it 5 hours, 6 hours. On some week you never get a chance to revise. If that is happening, what will happen? The consistency will go away, and as we are learning more, the number of hours should actually bump up. It should not go down, right? Because it is not humanly possible for you to remember each and every concept on a particular day, right? Sometimes revising the old week's concept would always be required. So the reason the number of hours should be increasing but never be decreasing, right? That can happen only when you show some passion, interest, love for the subject with a focused and committed. Okay, we never want to hear about my students saying they were not able to secure their jobs. Yes, if there might be little delay. There is another case I would like to say, Buddha Reddy. He was working as a assistant professor in St. Martin's College, or maybe St. Mary's in Hyderabad. Believe me friends, he was working as an assistant lecturer or a professor in an engineering college, working in a CSC department for 8 years. Now that fellow, he was able to make it to a startup now. Can you believe this? 8 years he was able to fake, he was able to do, but he was always having this passion to become a data scientist and move to a formal role. Right? It took a little while for him, but he was able to crack it in a very small startup. Right? The pay was not accurate, but going ahead by his background, right? Getting a data science job itself is very difficult, but he was able to crack it. So then I'm saying sometimes it might be delay because it all depends upon your IQ and commitment that you're showing, but it will certainly happen if you stay focused. Okay. And the other thing that I expect is interactiveness, right? Do not feel shy asking a question, because you are joining this program because you don't know about data science, isn't it? So don't worry about the aptness of a question. May it be silly, don't ever think it is a silly, it is a question to you. It is my responsibility to answer this. And again, no one is an what you call a god in everything, right? We are not Sachin Tendulkars, right? So if I know it, I will answer on that particular point at that stroke of the moment. If I think it needs to be verified before I say something, I will say, hey, I will get back to you tomorrow. Okay, so that's what we are going to understand your concerns, issues, and we're going to address it. So there's you need to be interactive. Okay, the moment I say, did you understand? I expect some acknowledgements, because I cannot see your faces, I cannot read your minds. All I can get is a reply either orally or through the chat window. Got that point?
Yeah, Danush.
Okay, now the revisions and practice. I cannot come and replace your position, right? There is no substitute for your hard work and smart work. Revision is a mandatory that you want to excel in this field, right? And this is little stat. The moment you are away from your subject for 2 weeks, that should be good enough for you to throw out of this particular program, right? Because it would be very hard, right? So I'm going to teach for 1 hour. Why I can't teach for 2 hours? Because I can complete the batch in just 45 days. I'm not doing this because it is not about dumping the knowledge to the students, understanding whether they are able to understand, because it's been a little while that we have gone or through a phase of learning phase, right? So the reason the weekends are off just to complete the assignments, just to practice or take your knowledge to the next level and do the complete revision of the topics that I have taught. Okay, so this is we're providing as a PDF just because you can keep it handy and you can just revise whenever you get some time. Okay, so the reason let's make an habit of revisions and practice. And coming to the hardware, right? Yesterday I had a question from one of the students, sir, what kind of a laptop should I buy a new laptop? Friends, stay on. Do not purchase any new hardware until unless you master this data science, because this is a general notion saying that I have to work on GPU, so let me buy a new i7 processor with 10 cores or a good 8 GB what you call power GPU card. No, wait for a while. So do not buy any new hardware for now. I'm going to help you. How can you get some free computation power without taking a single rupee from you? Okay. So the reason having a basic laptop with 4 GB RAM is what I require, not more than that. Okay. Are you clear?
Yeah, then clear.
Yeah,
Okay.
Danish.
And coming to the microphones, it might look a little odd, but you're coming to an online session, so definitely I would expect you to have a good microphones. right? Why? Because if you see, few people are breaking their voice, right? So the voice is fading away. Friends, please ensure you have a good internet connectivity and you have a good microphone so that you will be able to converse with me without any issues. Okay, so if there are any issues with respect to your sound cards or microphones, please get this resolved by today.
Hey Dhanush, Mahesh here.
Hey Mahesh, please.
Yeah, actually, my laptop is that's an old one, 2 GB RAM. Will that work?
It will work, but what will happen? It will take more amount of time for you to run a model. So for us, it might take 10 minutes. For you, it might take 25 minutes or 30 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't have another option. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe I will try to see what is another way. Maybe I'll look at it next, and I will get back to you. We can start doing something on Google Colab at the start itself. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Are you clear, friends? Any questions from here? Hope this information is valid and it's helpful to you, because we don't want to discuss about this in bits and pieces once I start the program. When I start the program, it is only the technical things or technical aspects that we need to discuss, not on like, sir, what are you providing, right? So friends, I know that most of the people are interested in here, but if you don't enjoy the knowledge, if you don't enjoy the subject, even if I teach it for another 1 month, it will not be able to help you. Agree? So the reason, for next 90 days, your focus should be on learning. Your focus should not be, sir, if there are any good opportunities, sir, if I will get a job. Don't have that fear. At the moment you are trying to think in a pessimistic way, things will not fall in place, right? You're learning something which is very futuristic in nature, which is going to stay for decades. So don't have any kind of a myths. If you have any, we wanted to resolve this in today's session itself. Are you clear?
Hi Dhanush, actually I have a problem regarding the daily attendance. Actually I'm working in MNC, right? I have 3 shifts. So morning shift, if they'll give me morning shift, it will be a little bit difficult to attend because the shift starts from 5 to afternoon to 2:30 p.m. So at that moment, can you suggest?
Sneha, so what I would say, like attend from the mobile. See, wherever it is possible, just try to see, like at least you can attend for half an hour, blocking a meeting room or going somewhere or going for walking or something. Just try to see. These are like, because I'm not a best person to judge to what situation you would be in at that point of time. But I would always say, like, okay, try your best, right? As long as you have the intent to attend, you'll find a little way. But again, sometimes due to your current roles and current organization protocols, right, you might not be able to do this. But try to see wherever you can. If not, right, so try to put a dedicated time where you are going to go through it and come up with the questions for the next session, right? So that you'll be on top of the topics that we are going to cover.
Yeah, Dhanush, sure.
Okay, so friends, this is the Q&A sessions, right? Because anything on logistics or anything on the module or with the program things, right? So this is the right forum to ask all those questions. Any questions here?
That's it.
No,
See, I'm
Dhanush.
just getting acknowledgement from maybe just 3 out of 18 people that we have in the. I appreciate
Yeah.
responses from each and every one.
Good, Dhanush. Good.
Yeah.
Okay, and again, another announcement, friends. I might be a little strict in the class, right? People generally prefer a jovial persons, but I might crack a joke 1 or 2, but I'll be pretty serious in the sessions, just because, right? Sometimes I might have to put you in a spot, so don't feel offended, right? You are my student, I'm your guru, so definitely I wanted to convey the feedback very straightforwardly, right? Because my object is very single point agenda to get you placed, nothing else, right? So the reason, if you have a feeling that you should not be asked any questions, if you have any such kind of a concerns, please ping me so that I will not take your name to ask any questions. Okay, but asking the questions, taking the names, if you're not performing well, providing the feedback, right, would be there. So if you think that you should not be go through this, so please tell your name so that we don't take your names when I'm asking some questions. Okay.
Dhanush, this is Pranati.
Hey
So,
Pranati, go ahead.
hey, question and answer session, like once we do the assignment, would you be answering us or helping us with the questions from the previous assignment in the same session, or would it be post session? Like
So
another
there would
person?
never be a closed session, Francie, because I don't believe that Q&A has to be dealt in a separate way during a weekend, right? I'm not that kind of person. The moment you have a question, you can make use of the next sessions, right? Say that, Hesa, how this can be dealt. Right? If it is a programming issue, definitely we have to work together, right? Say as an example, you are getting an error. No, that cannot be answered in a session without looking at your screenshot and looking some other details. So until unless it is a programmatical error, the other things could be answered orally, right? So that's what we are going to say. Do not keep your questions for weekend. If you have a question, you can always ask that question in the current session if you get that particular question, or else keep it for the next session. I will be able to help you. Or else you can ping me or send an email so that I can look at it. If I think that is a specific question to you, then I'm going to answer it. If I think that is an useful information that others also need to learn, then I definitely bring it to the next session. But again, I'm not going to say like a Q&A session, keep your questions what you call documented for a weekend Saturday or Sunday session. No, if you have a question that has to be resolved. And how do we do it? If the question is on the fly, ask in the session itself. If the question is when you are trying to revise or when you're trying to practice, then bring it to the next session. Just send me an email, and by the next session you will have an answer for it.
Okay, thank you, Danish.
Friends, any other questions? Okay, I think this is an habit, right? Maybe since open up, right? Let me take the names and try to check with you. Tejasvi, any questions, any concerns about today's module only?
No, Danish. Nothing from my end.
Tejasvi Kodali? There's a little confusion. Tejasvi and Tejasvi. Okay.
It's Tejasvi.
Okay. The question similarity between Tejasvi and Tejasvi would be 95%. Okay. Just kidding.
Okay.
Tejasvi? Tejasvi Kodali? It is silent today's session. Have any questions, concerns? Appreciate your acknowledgement.
No questions, sir.
Okay. I'm going following the chronological order from the bottom. Tanbinur? Are you clear about
No,
how are
Danish,
we
I'm
trying
good.
to make use of this program? Good. Sneha?
Yes, 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 sir.
Sneha,
Yes,
are you clear?
Danish. Yeah,
Very good.
Danish, actually, my doubt is like currently we're working, right? What about us? Like, if we do this course after that, like, I want you to guide further for me also.
Oh, yeah, see, like at least we have like multiple interactions. Do you see that Dhanush is a person who is shying away from helping the students? At least, right? Because you'll get a little sense of a person from the initial interactions. Did you ever get that
Yeah,
feeling?
yeah, actually, yeah, you're interacting well.
All right, it's not about it. So because what I say, I stand by it. Okay, Sneha, so never have a doubt on your mentor. So whenever you need help, I might not be present at a particular moment of time, but by end of the day or the next day, I'm going to get back to you for sure. Okay, because even I'm a
Yeah,
working
yeah,
professional, so I have my own startup to take care of over and above this training. So definitely, yeah, you will definitely get a response from me.
yeah, sure.
Okay, Sneha, thanks for
Unmuted.
Yeah, I'm clear, Danish.
very good.
Pranush, I
Santosh,
can
have
take
any
1
questions?
minute.
No,
Yeah,
then it's clear. Sorry.
Dhanush, Kiran, I can take 1 minute.
yeah.
Guys, please leave your phone number and mail IDs. Kasi, Santosh, and Tejasvi Kodali. Please leave.
No, Kiran. So they are my references.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just sent an email to your WhatsApp, so please check on that.